Hi everyone. So it's been a while since I've recorded anything, and I have a few options here today, and I thought I might do a little reading from one. Just kind of grab the top books from my cupboard and just sort of see what we got. So I thought I was looking at different things. This is something a friend has lent me recently because I've gotten back into baking. I missed the lockdown baking craze everyone went through, but I do love this book. I like the bakery itself, Gail's Bakery. We like their seeded sourdough bread at our house. But I thought I'd go through this book at some point and try to make something from it. But it is a lovely book, to be honest. Just this beautiful hardcover. I'm a fan of hardcover books. And then it's got lots of different recipes. So it's just things you should have in your cupboard. Yeah, I think I've got a fair amount of this. Things like, let's see, like flour, definitely. We've got water and yeast and salt. Definitely got some butter going. Milk and cream. Don't have any buttermilk, but you can kind of make some by adding, well, not exactly, but you can sort of sour milk and cream with a little bit of lemon. I've done that before. And then there's things like eggs and sugar, honey. We've got olive oil, vanilla, rapeseed oil, lemons, cocoa powder, chocolate, baking powder, bicarb. Got some spices, but not many. The holiday season, I've had a lot of ginger usage to make gingerbread men, and cinnamon. Don't have any breadcrumbs, but it's a picture of one of the bakeries, and just things that you need. Some lovely bread, and basics on how to form a bloomer. Okay, so I guess that's the bread that will kind of open up there, we can see. But I like the visuals. I like to see every step of the process. So it's got a few of those. Sweet almond pastry. So these are basic recipes that you can build off. And yes, there's a lot of different things you can make. Oh, they look happy. But might not do the recipe today. Oh, but I think that's something I'd love to bake. Some croissants, some almond croissants. That'd be beautiful. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's done anything from this book before, let me know how it went. And then something else I managed to find when I was still living in Hong Kong. I went to one of these kind of charity stores, but you kind of choose the price. And I found this baking book. I don't know if you can see the size of it really, but it is a giant. So 2 hands. Yeah. But this is just a huge collection of tips for all sorts of baking. Used for universities, or at least on one course or another. But it's like it's a school textbook, and it goes through understanding like how your recipe is changed by different things, and so you can understand as you get better what you can substitute with other things. It's even got some terms to help you revise, like microorganisms and hazards, pathogen, plant toxins, mixed along with scone flour, baker's percentage, and it's got some questions there that you can in theory discuss. So things like question 4, make the following conversions in the US system of measurements. 3.5 pounds to how many ounces? I don't think I know these answers yet, but it's something that I have to look at. But I do love it. It's got so many different things in it, and literally goes through each of them. A lovely fig hazelnut bread there. The different recipes, and obviously it tells you to go back to certain pages to learn different tips. But today I thought we'd take one of these books. So a couple of them are mine, and this one was actually one I found at my aunt's house. The Quran, English Meanings and Notes by Sahir International. Which is interesting. I've never read it, but I've always been curious too. So how it begins, I won't attempt to read the first one. I might mash that up. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful, sovereign of the day recompense. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help. Guide us to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favour, not of those who have earned your anger or those of who are astray. Interesting. So, something new for me. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit. Look at the first couple pages, maybe. First page. Alif Lam Mim, which is, let's see, these are among the 14 opening letters which occur in various combinations at the beginning of 29 surahs in the Quran. Although there has been much speculation as to their meaning, it was not in fact revealed by Allah to anyone and is known only to him. Okay, so those are the letters. This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah, who believe in the unseen, establish prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them, and who believe in what has been revealed to you, O Muhammad, and what was revealed before you, and of the hereafter they are certain in faith. Those are upon right guidance from their Lord, and it is those who are the successful. Indeed, those who disbelieve, it is all the same for them whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Allah has set a seal upon their hearts and upon their hearing, and over their vision is a veil, and for them is a great punishment. And of the people are some who say, we believe in Allah and the last day, but they are not believers. They think to deceive Allah and those who believe, but they deceive not except themselves and perceive it not. In their hearts is disease, so Allah has increased their disease, and for them is painful punishment, because they habitually used to lie. And when it is said to them, do not cause corruption on the earth, they say, we are but reformers. Unquestionably, it is they who are the corrupters, but they perceive it not. And when it is said to them, believe as people have believed, they say, should we believe as the foolish have believed? Unquestionably it is they who are foolish, but they know it not. Okay. So it's a very different style to, the only one I've really experienced as a child and growing up was the Bible. So this is a very different layout, I suppose, and way of things, but who knows, we may explore it more if anyone is interested. And then on the other side we have Paulo Coelho. You can see this one is well used, the doggedness of it, and that crack down the spine. I really loved this book when I found it. He's written many books and I've read a few, but Manuscripts Found in Accra was one that I especially liked. And it's also got a really nice feel to it. It's sort of this soft, dense paper. I don't know how to describe it. But it is obviously a book of fiction, but presented as a recording. But it goes through a lot of different situations that can occur to us in life and ways to deal with it. So I bought this one in Hong Kong at a store called Popular, and it was 80 Hong Kong dollars, which is about £8 sterling. Yeah. So the blurb: Jerusalem in 1099. The city awaits the invasion of the Crusaders who have surrounded its walls. There, inside the ancient gates, women and men of every age and faith have gathered to hear the wisdom of a mysterious man known only as the Copt. As the wise man speaks of loyalty, fear, bravery and solitude, of love, sex, beauty and elegance, his words reveal the human values that have endured throughout time. Then, as now, these words make known who we are, what we fear, and what we hope for the future. So I think we might do a bit of reading from this one. So we'll leave the much read Tales of Beedle the Bard from J.K. Rowling for another day, perhaps. And this one I haven't read yet, it was given to me. But I'm quite excited to read The Ichabod, again by J.K. Rowling. As tall as 2 horses, eyes like glowing balls of fire, long razor-sharp claws, the Ichabod is coming. So, we'll tackle that another time. So for now, oh, sorry about that, one of them fell off the pile. Check this out. So, an intriguing and playful premise by the Boston Globe, full of worthy musings and quotable quotes on a variety of subjects, from solitude and love to beauty and miracles. Like all Coelho's other works, the earnestness, simplicity and clarity of Manuscripts Found in Accra's prose start touching your soul and transforming your thoughts. That was by the International Herald Tribune. Coelho shows himself again to be a cerebral and subtle writer. The New York Journal of Books. And the Washington Post said, spiritualists and wanderlusts will eagerly devour Coelho's search for all things meaningful. So I think I'd agree with that. Paulo Coelho, Manuscripts Found in Accra. One of the most influential writers of our time, Paulo Coelho is is the author of many international bestsellers, including The Alchemist, The Pilgrimage, 11 Minutes and Aleph. Translated into 74 languages, his books have sold more than 140 million copies in more than 170 countries. He is a member of the Brazilian Academy of Letters, and in 2007 he was named a United Nations Messenger of Peace. So some other books by him. I liked The Pilgrimage, and 11 Minutes was quite interesting. The Devil and Miss Prim, now that one's one I recommend. It gives the ultimate choice for people. All his books are thought-provoking in different ways. So this was translated from the Portuguese by Margaret Jewel Costa, published by Vintage International, a division of Random House. O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for those who turn to you. Amen. For NRSM, in gratitude for the miracle, and for Monica Atunes, who never squandered her blessings. Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. So the preface and greeting. In December of 1945, two brothers looking for a place to rest found an urn full of papyruses in a cave in the region of Hamadom in Upper Egypt. Instead of telling the local authorities, as the law demanded, they decided to sell them singly in the market for antiquities, thus avoiding attracting the government's attention. The boy's mother, fearing negative energies, burned several of the newly discovered papyruses. The following year, for reasons history does not record, the brothers quarrelled. Attributing this quarrel to those supposed negative energies, the mother handed over the manuscripts to a priest who sold one of them to the Coptic Museum in Cairo. There the papyruses were given the name they still bear to this day, manuscripts from Nag Hammadi, a reference to the town nearest to the caves where they were found. One of the museum's experts, the religious historian Jean Doris, realized the importance of the discovery and mentioned it for the first time in a publication dated 1948. The other papyruses began to appear on the black market. The Egyptian government tried to prevent the manuscripts from leaving the country. After the 1952 revolution, most of the material were handed over to the Coptic Museum in Cairo and declared part of the national heritage. Only one text eluded them, and this turned up in an antiquarian shop in Belgium. After vain attempts to sell it in New York and Paris, it was finally acquired by the Carl Jung Institute in 1951. On the death of the famous psychoanalyst, the papyrus, now known as Jung Codex, returned to Cairo, where the almost 1,000 pages and fragments of the manuscript from Nag Hammadi are now to be found. The papyruses are Greek translations of texts written between the end of the 1st century BC and AD 180. And they constitute a body of work, also known as the Apocryphal Gospels, because they are not included in the Bible as we know it today. Now, why is that? In AD 170, a group of bishops met to decide which texts would form part of the New Testament. The criterion was simple enough. Anything that could be used to combat the heresies and doctrinal divisions of the age would be included. The 4 Gospels we know today were chosen as they were the letters from the apostles, and whatever else was judged to be, shall we say, coherent with what the bishops believed to be the main tenet of Christianity. Reference to this meeting of the bishops and their list of authorized books can be found in the Muratorian canon. The other books, like those found in Nag Hammadi, were omitted either because they were written by women, for example, the Gospel according to Mary Magdalene, or because they depict a Jesus who was aware of his divine mission, and whose passage through death would, therefore, be less drawn out and painful. In 1974, the English archaeologist Sir Walter Wilkinson discovered another manuscript, this time written in 3 languages, Arabic, Hebrew and Latin. Conscious of the laws protecting such finds in the region, he sent the text to the Department of Antiquities in the Museum of Cairo. Shortly afterwards, back came a response. There are at least 155 copies of the document circulating in the world, 3 of which belong to the museum, and they were all practically identical. Carbon-14 tests used to determine the age of organic matter revealed that the document was relatively recent, possibly as late as AD 1307. It was easy enough to trace its origin to the city of Accra, outside Egyptian territory. There were, therefore, no restrictions on its removal from the country, and Sir Walter received written permission from the Egyptian government to take it back to England with him. I met Sir Walter's son in 1982 at Christmas in Portmadong in Wales. I remember him mentioning the manuscript discovered by his father, but neither of us gave much importance to the matter. We maintained a cordial relationship over the years and met on at least 2 other occasions when I visited Wales to promote my books. On the 30th November 2011, I received a copy of the text that he mentioned at that first meeting. I transcribe it here. Interesting prelude. So, I would so like to begin by writing. Now that I am at the end of my life, I leave for those who come after me everything that I learned while I walked the face of this earth. May they make good use of it. It's an interesting phrase. I would so like to begin, but almost missing that but. Alas, that is not true. I am only 21. My parents gave me love and an education, and I married a woman I love and who loves me in return. However, tomorrow life will undertake to separate us, and we must each set off in search of our own path, our own destiny, our own way of facing death. As far as our family is concerned, today is the 14th of July, 1099. For the family of Jacob, the childhood friend with whom I used to play in this city of Jerusalem, it is the year 4859. He always takes great pride in telling me that Judaism is a far older religion than mine. For the worthy Ibn al-Athir, who spent his life trying to record a history that is now coming to a conclusion, the year 492 is about to end. We do not agree about dates or about the best way to worship God, but in every other respect we live together in peace. A week ago, our commanders held a meeting. The French soldiers are infinitely superior and far better equipped than ours. We were given a choice, to abandon the city or to fight to the death, because we will certainly be defeated. Most of us decided to stay. The Muslims are at this moment gathered at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, while the Jews chose to assemble their soldiers in Mirab Dawund, and the Christians who live in various different quarters are charged with defending the southern part of the city. Outside, we can already see the siege towers built from the enemy's dismantled ships, Judging from the enemy's movements, we assume that they will attack tomorrow morning, spilling our blood in the name of the Pope, the liberation of the city, and the divine will. This evening, in the same square where a millennium ago the Roman governor Pontius Pilate handed Jesus over to the mob to be crucified, a group of men and women of all ages went to see the Greek, whom we all know as the Copt. The Copt is a strange man. As an adolescent, he decided to leave his native city of Athens to go in search of money and adventure. He ended up knocking on the doors of our city, close to starvation. When he was well received, he gradually abandoned the idea of continuing his journey and resolved to stay. He managed to find work in a shoemaker's shop, and, just like Ibn al-Athir, he started recording everything he saw and heard for posterity. He did not seek to join any particular religion, and no one tried to persuade him otherwise. As far as he is concerned, we are not in the year 1099 or 4859, much less at the end of 492. The Copt believes only in the present moment and what he calls the Moira, the unknown God, the divine energy responsible for a single law which, if ever broken, will bring about the end of the world. Alongside the Copt were the patriarchs of the three religions that had settled in Jerusalem. No government officials were present during this conversation. They were too preoccupied with making the final preparations for a resistance that we believe will prove utterly pointless. Many centuries ago, a man was judged and condemned in this square, the Greek said. On the road to the right, while he was walking towards his death, he passed a group of women. When he saw them weeping, he said, "Weep not for me, weep for Jerusalem." He prophesied what is happening now. From tomorrow, harmony will become discord. Joy will be replaced by grief. Peace will give way to a war that will last into an unimaginably distant future. No one said anything, because none of us knew exactly why we were there. Would we have to listen to yet another sermon about these invaders calling themselves crusaders? For a moment, the Copt appeared to savour the general confusion, and then, after a long silence, he explained, "They can destroy the city, but they cannot destroy everything the city has taught us, which is why it is vital that this knowledge does not suffer the same fate as our walls, houses, and streets. But what is knowledge?" When no one replied, he went on, "It isn't about the absolute truth about love, life, and death, but the thing that helps us to live and confront the challenges of day-to-day life. It isn't what we learn from books, which serves only to fuel futile arguments about what has happened or what will happen. It is the knowledge that lives in the hearts of men and women of goodwill." The Copt said, "I am a learned man, and yet, despite having spent all these years restoring antiquities, classifying objects, recording dates, and discussing politics, I still don't quite know what to say to you. But I will ask the divine energy to purify my heart. You will ask me questions, and I will answer them. That is what the teachers of ancient Greece did. Their disciples would ask them questions about problems they had not yet considered, and the teachers would answer them. And what shall we do with your answers?" someone asked. "Some will write down what I say. Others will remember my words. The important thing is that tonight you will set off for the four corners of the world, telling others what you have heard. That way the soul of Jerusalem will be preserved, And one day we will be able to rebuild Jerusalem, not just as a city, but as a centre of knowledge and a place where peace will once again reign. "We all know what awaits us tomorrow," said another man. "Wouldn't it be better to discuss how to negotiate for peace or prepare ourselves for battle?" The cop looked at the other religious men beside him and then immediately turned back to the crowd. "None of us can know what tomorrow will hold, because each day has its good and its bad moments. So when you ask your questions, forget about the troops outside and the fear inside. Our task is not to leave a record of what has happened on this date for those who will inherit the earth. History will take care of that. Therefore we will speak about our daily lives, about the difficulties we have had to face. That is all the future will be interested in, because I do not believe very much will change in the next 1,000 years. Then my neighbour Jacob said, "Speak to us about defeat." The first question: does a leaf when it falls from the tree in winter feel defeated by the cold? The tree says to the leaf, "That's the cycle of life. You may think you're going to die, but you live on in me. It's thanks to you that I'm alive, because I can breathe. It's also thanks to you that I have felt loved, because I was able to give shade to the weary traveller. Your sap is in my sap. We are one thing." Does a man who spent years preparing to climb the highest mountain in the world feel defeated when on reaching that mountain he discovers that nature has cloaked the summit in storm clouds? The man says to the mountain, "You do not want me this time, but the weather will change, and one day I will make it to the top. Meanwhile, you'll still be here waiting for me." Does a young man rejected by his first love declare that love does not exist? The young man says to himself, "I'll find someone better able to understand what I feel, and then I will be happy for the rest of my days." In the cycle of nature, there is no such thing as victory or defeat. There is only movement. The winter struggles to reign supreme, but in the end is obliged to accept spring's victory, which brings with it flowers and happiness. The summer would like to make its warm days last forever, because it believes that warmth is good for the earth. But in the end it has to accept the arrival of autumn, which will allow the earth to rest. The gazelle eats the grass and is devoured by the lion. It isn't a matter of who is the strongest, but God's way of showing us the cycle of death and resurrection. And within that cycle, there are neither winners nor losers. There are only stages that must be gone through. When the human heart understands this, it is free and able to accept the difficult times without being deceived by moments of glory. Both will pass. One will succeed the other, and the cycle will continue until we liberate ourselves from the flesh and find the divine energy. Therefore, when the fighter is in the ring, whether by his own choice or because unfathomable destiny has placed him there, may his spirit be filled with joy, the prospect of the fight ahead. If he holds on to his dignity and his honour, then even if he loses the fight, he will never be defeated because his soul will remain intact, and he will blame no one for what is happening to him. Ever since he fell in love for the first time and was rejected, he has known that this did not put an end to his ability to love. What is true in love is also true in war. Losing a battle or losing everything we thought we possessed will bring us moments of sadness. But when those moments pass, we will discover the hidden strengths that exist in each of us, a strength that will surprise us and increase our self-respect. We will look around and say to ourselves, "I survived," and we will be cheered by our words. Only those who fail to recognize that inner strength will say, "I lost," and be sad. Others, even though they were defeated and feel humiliated by the things the winners are saying about them, will allow themselves to shed a few tears, but will never to succumb to self-pity. They know that this is merely a pause in the fighting, and that for the moment they are at a disadvantage. They listen to the beating of their own heart. They're aware of being tense and of being afraid. They consider their life and discover that, despite the fear, their faith is still alive in their soul, driving them onward. They try to work out what they did wrong and what they did right. They take advantage of this moment of defeat to rest and heal their wounds, devise new strategies, and equip themselves better. Then the day dawns when a new battle knocks on their door. They are still afraid, but they have to act. Either that or remain forever lying on the ground. They get up and face their opponent, remembering the suffering they have endured, which they no longer wish to endure. Their previous defeat means that this time they must win, because they don't want to suffer the same pain again. But if victory is not theirs this time, it will be the next time. And if not the next time, then the time after that. The important thing is to get back on your feet. Only he who gives up is defeated. Everyone else is victorious. And the day will come when those difficult moments are merely stories to be told proudly to those who will listen. And they will listen respectfully and learn 3 important things. Wait patiently for the right moment to act. Do not let the next opportunity slip by you. Take pride in your scars. Scars are metals branded on the flesh, and your enemies will be frightened by them because they are proof of your long experience of battle. Often this will lead them to seek dialogue and avoid conflict. Scars speak more loudly than the sword that caused them. "Describe the defeated ones," said a merchant when he saw that the Copt had finished speaking. And he answered, "The defeated are those who never fail. Defeat means that we lose a particular battle or war. Failure does not allow us to go on fighting. Defeat comes when we fail to get something we much want. Failure does not allow us to dream. Its motto is, expect nothing and you won't be disappointed. Defeat ends when we launch into another battle. Failure has no end. It is a lifetime choice. Defeat is for those who, despite their fears, live with enthusiasm and faith. Defeat is for the valiant. Only they will know the honor of losing and the joy of winning. I am not here to tell you that defeat is part of life. We all know that. Only the defeated know love, because it is in the realm of love that we fight our first battles and generally lose. I am here to tell you that there are people who have never been defeated. There are ones who never fought. They manage to avoid scars, humiliations, and feelings of helplessness, as well as those moments when even warriors doubt the existence of God. Such people can say with pride, "I never lost a battle. On the other hand, they will never be able to say, I won a battle. Not that they care. They live in a universe in which they believe they are invulnerable. They close their eyes to injustices and to suffering, and they feel safe because they do not have to deal with the daily challenges that faced by those who risk stepping out beyond their own boundaries. They have never heard the words goodbye or I've come back embrace me with the fervour of someone who, having lost me, has found me again. Those who were never defeated seem happy and superior, masters of a truth they have never had to lift a finger to achieve. They are always on the side of the strong. They are like hyenas who eat only the leavings of lions. They teach their children, don't get involved in conflicts you'll only lose. Keep your doubts to yourself and you'll never have any problems. If someone attacks you, don't get offended or demean yourself by hitting back. There are more important things in life. In the silence of the night, they fight their imaginary battles, their unrealized dreams, the injustices to which they turned a blind eye, the moments of cowardice they managed to conceal from other people, but not from themselves, and the love that crossed their path with a sparkle in its eyes, the love God had intended for them, but which they lacked the courage to embrace. And they promised themselves, tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes, and the paralyzing question surfaces in their mind. What if it doesn't work out? And so they do nothing. Woe to those who are never beaten. They will never be winners in this life. Tell us about solitude, said a young woman who had been about to marry the son of one of the richest men in the city, but was now obliged to flee. And he answered, without solitude, love will not stay long by your side, because love needs to rest so that it can journey through the heavens and reveal itself in other forms. Without solitude, no plant or animal can survive, no soil can remain productive, no child can learn about life, no artist can create, no work can grow and be transformed. Solitude is not the absence of love, but its complement. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the moment when our soul is free to speak to us and help us decide what to do with our life. Therefore, blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do or something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. If you are never alone, you cannot know yourself. And if you do not know yourself, you will begin to fear the void. But the void does not exist. A vast world lies hidden in our soul, waiting to be discovered. There it is with all its strength intact, but it is so new and so powerful that we are afraid to acknowledge its existence. The act of discovering who we are will force us to accept that we can go further than we think, and that frightens us. Best not to take the risk. We can always say, I didn't do what I should have done because they wouldn't let me. That feels more comfortable, safer, and at the same time, it's tantamount to renouncing your own life. Woe to those who prefer to spend their lives saying, I never had any opportunities. because with each day that passes they will sink deeper into the well of their own limitations, and the time will come when they will lack the strength to climb out and rediscover the bright light shining through the opening above their head. And blessed be those who say, I am not brave enough, because they know that it is not someone else's fault, and sooner or later they will find the necessary faith to confront solitude and its mysteries. For those who are not frightened by the solitude that reveals all mysteries, everything will have a different taste. In solitude they will discover the love that might otherwise have arrived unnoticed. In solitude they will understand and respect the love that left them. In solitude they will be able to decide whether it is worth asking that lost love to come back, or if they should simply let it go and set off along a new path. In solitude they will learn that saying no does not always show a lack of generosity, and that saying yes is not always a virtue. And those who are alone in this moment never need be frightened by the words of the devil, "You're wasting your time," or by the chief demon's even more potent words, "No one cares about you." The divine energy is listening to us when we speak to other people, but also when we are still and silent and able to accept solitude as a blessing. And in that moment, its light illuminates everything around us and helps us to see that we are necessary, that our presence on earth makes an immense difference to its work. And when we achieve that harmony, we receive more than we asked for. For those who feel oppressed by solitude, it's important to remember that in life's most significant moments, we are always alone. Take the child emerging from a woman's womb. It doesn't matter how many people are present, the final decision to live rests with the child. Take an artist and his work. In order for his work to be really good, he needs to be still and hear only the language of the angels. Take all of us when we find ourselves face to face with that unwanted visitor, death. We will all be alone at that most important and most feared moment of our existence. Just as love is the divine condition, so solitude is the human condition. And for those who understand the miracle of life, those two states peacefully coexist. And a boy who had been chosen as one of those who was to leave rent his garments and said, "My city thinks I am not good enough to fight. I am useless." And he answered, "Some people say no one loves me, but even in cases of unrequited love, there is always the hope that one day it will be requited. Others write in their diaries, 'My genius goes unrecognized, my talents unappreciated, my dreams scorned.' But for them too there is the hope that, after many struggles, things will change. Others spend their days knocking on doors, explaining, 'I'm looking for work.' They know that if they are patient, someone will eventually invite them in. But there are those who wake each morning with a heavy heart. They are not seekers after love, recognition, or work. They say to themselves, 'I'm useless. I live because I have to survive.' But no one, absolutely no one, is interested in what I am doing. Outside, the sun is shining. They are surrounded by their family, and they try to keep up the mask of happiness, because in the eyes of others, they have everything they have ever dreamed of having. But they are convinced that no one there needs them, either because they are too young and their elders appear to have some other concerns, or because they are too old and the younger members of the family appear uninterested in what they have to say. The poet writes a few lines, then throws them away, thinking, nobody's going to be interested in that. The labourer arrives for work and merely repeats the same task he did yesterday. He believes that if he were ever dismissed, no one would even notice his absence. The young woman making a dress takes enormous pains over every detail. But when she wears it to some celebration, she reads the messages in other people's eyes. You're no prettier or uglier than any of the other girls. Your dress is just one among millions of dresses all over the world, where at this very moment similar celebrations are being held, some in great castles, others in small villages where everyone knows everyone and passes comments on what the other girls are wearing. But no one commented on what she was wearing, which went unnoticed. It was neither pretty nor ugly. It was just a dress. Useless. Younger people realize that the world is full of huge problems that they dream of solving, but no one is interested in their views. You don't know what the world is really like, they are told. Listen to your elders and then you'll have a better idea of what to do. Older people have gained experience and maturity and have learned about life's difficulties the hard way. But when the moment comes for them to teach these things, no one is interested. The world has changed, they are told. You have to keep up to date and listen to the young. That feeling of uselessness is no respecter of age and never asks permission, but instead corrodes people's souls, repeating over and over, no one is interested in you, you're nothing. The world doesn't need your presence. In a desperate attempt to give meaning to life, many turn to religion, because a struggle in the name of faith is always a justification for some grand action that could transform the world. We are doing God's work, they tell themselves, and they become devout followers, then evangelists, and finally fanatics. They don't understand that religion was created in order to share the mystery and to worship, not to oppress or convert others. The greatest manifestation of the miracle of God is life. Tonight I will weep for you, O Jerusalem, because that understanding of the divine unity is about to disappear for the next 1,000 years. Ask a flower in the field, do you feel useful? After all, you do nothing but produce the same flowers over and over. And the flower will answer, I am beautiful, and beauty is my reason for living. Ask the river, do you feel useful, given that all you do is keep flowing in the same direction? And the river will answer, I'm not trying to be useful, I'm trying to be a river. Nothing in this world is useless in the eyes of God. Not a leaf from a tree falls, not a hair from your head, not even an insect dies because it was of no use. Everything has a reason to exist. Even you, the person asking the question, I'm useless, is the answer you give yourself. Soon that answer will poison you and you will die while still alive, even though you still walk, eat, sleep, and try to have a little fun wherever possible. Don't try to be useful. Try to be yourself. That is enough, and that makes all the difference. Walk neither faster nor slower than your own soul, because it is your soul that will teach you the usefulness of each step you take. Sometimes taking part in a great battle will be the thing that will help to change the course of history. But sometimes you can do that simply by smiling for no reason at someone you happen to pass on the street. Without intending to, you might have saved the life of a complete stranger who also thought he was useless and might have been ready to kill himself until a smile gave him new hope and confidence. Even if you were to study your own life in detail and relive each moment that you suffered, sweated, and smiled beneath the sun, you would still never know exactly when you had been useful to someone else. And life is never useless. Each soul that came down to earth is here for a reason. The people who really help others are not trying to be useful, but are simply leading a useful life. They rarely give advice, but serve as an example. Do one thing. Live the life you always wanted to live. Avoid criticizing others and concentrate on fulfilling your dreams. This may not seem very important to you, but God, who sees all, knows that the example you give is helping Him to improve the world, and each day He will bestow more blessings upon it. And when the unwanted visitor arrives, you will hear it say, "It is fair to ask, Father, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? But now in this final second of your life on earth, I am going to tell you what I saw. I found the house clean, the table laid, the fields ploughed, and the flowers smiling. I found each thing in its proper place, precisely as it should be. You understood that small things are responsible for great changes, and for that reason I will carry you up to paradise." Okay guys, I think I'm going to leave it here for now. We're about a third of the way through the book. The next chapter would be about a woman called Almira, a seamstress, who says, "I could have left before the Crusaders arrived, and if I had, I would now be working in Egypt, but I am always too afraid to change." So that will be the next one. And there's a few questions still to come. Talk to us about beauty, the direction in which to take, or love that has passed us by. And this one is on fate. And, about love. And division in unity. So if you like this one and you'd like some more of it, just leave a comment or give a like and we can do that. Or give some suggestions for some things that you would like to hear in the future. Hope you've enjoyed this.